Welcome back to another episode of Not Your Average Joe and to Dad, and today we'll be talking about more turkey hunting.
Not your average Joe and to Dad?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Oh,
buddy. I just got out of the woods and it's hot. It's nasty.
He's getting whooped.
Boy, am I. It's about 40-mile-an-hour winds. It's 75 degrees and there's mosquitoes. So it's been brutal.
Yeah.
Seriously, yesterday it was 73 degrees when I woke up, probably 100% humidity. The wind was blowing 20 to 25 miles an hour. I was engulfed in mosquitoes and the sun wasn't even up yet. And my thermocell was running low. So, you snorting in here now? So anyway, yeah, it's been brutal. I would call this a turkey podcast, but we're going to start referring to this as the lack of turkey podcast. What are you doing?
I'm untangling my headphones.
Okay. So I guess we'll do a quick turkey update and then we'll move on to everything else. How's that sound?
Fine.
All right. Well, a turkey update is there's no dead turkeys.
And no sight of turkeys.
Well,
besides 2 pictures.
Take it back. I called in a hen yesterday. That is a victory.
You didn't tell me that.
I thought I did. Yeah. About 3:15 or about 3 o'clock, 3:05. The wind was absolutely brutal. I shared stories to my personal Instagram. I'll post some here, but the trees were literally bending over.
He watched a big tree fall in front of him.
I did. So at about 3:05, I called, and I mean, the wind was ripping, so I absolutely just ripped on this call. And shortly after, to my left, I see a turkey, and I'm like, oh, it's on. Because normally in the afternoon, you get a turkey to come in. It's a gobbler, and they don't really gobble in that wind. And I'm looking, I'm like, oh, man, yeah, it's a big bird, too. And I was like, I don't see a beard. I threw my binoculars up, no beard. It was a hen, and she came in. I mean, her head was raised, and she's looking all around, and she's clucking. She's yep. And she wasn't cutting, but she was looking. You could see she was looking all around right where that call came from, and she walked around for a minute. She's probably about 30 yards, and I was excited because I was like, yeah, maybe she has a boyfriend. That's what I was looking for, and no boyfriend never showed up. And about 10 minutes after she left, maybe 20, I just hear a massive commotion, and a giant oak tree about 80 yards in front of me decided to give up, hit the ground, and they yep, and they do make a mighty noise when they fall. So overall, since our last podcast last Friday, the weather has just been
rough.
It's just sucked. I keep showing up, but it just keeps sucking. I hunted a bunch and didn't. The gobbles have gotten fewer and fewer. At least last podcast on Thursday, that the gobbler, he was hitting hard, and Friday he was hitting. And it seems like every day they've gotten a little less. Earlier this week, it was 1 before sunup, down to the last few days of none. And it's a running theme. Last Wednesday, not this Wednesday, but the Wednesday before, I didn't hunt. And the gobbler showed up in front of the one camera I have out. Well, this Wednesday, I decided not to hunt. And because
better go on Wednesdays.
I know. Because the wind was it's just been brutal. I mean, if I looked at the forecast right now, it says 20 to 25 mile an hour with gust up to a potential of 40.
That's when I'm coming with you on Wednesdays.
So I didn't go on Wednesday, and at like 4:30, my camera popped, and the gobbler walked past it. He was by himself. And so I went, and
last picture of him, didn't he have a hen? Or
no,
like 3 hens?
No, that was last week. That wasn't this week. So I went Thursday, not a peep in the morning, nothing. Like I said, the wind has just been brutal. And went this morning, nothing. The wind tomorrow looks terrible. Sunday, the weather looks bad, like rain, thunderstorms, and the wind. And then hopefully we get into next week, and Monday it actually goes back down to like low in the 40s. And then Monday's high is like 50, and then it gets to Tuesday, Wednesday looks a little bit better. So I'm going to keep showing up. That's all I know to do, and keep trying. I'm a little rejuvenated, though, because I at least saw a turkey. That's a win. It's been so long since I've seen a turkey in the wild. I pretty much feel like I'm just going out and sitting in the woods and walking in the woods, not really hunting. What do you think about that? That's all you guys. You know what I was thinking about in the woods?
What?
You know what turkey season kind of reminds me of? What it feels like to me
What?
this turkey season and maybe even last. Do you remember our last trip to the Ozarks when we basically tried to total my truck out?
Oh, yeah.
That was a brutal trip, right?
You mean, like, when it was, like, almost completely sideways?
Oh, well, I'm thinking more the one where we ripped the tin off the
Yeah.
roof.
I would say
Um,
that would be it too.
so quick story times just so everybody's in the loop, and I don't really like telling the story because it's pretty painful. But I don't know why it came to me, but this story is kinda how I feel about my turkey season so far. Me and Joe went to the Ozarks with some friends of ours, and I was in my
This was
FJ60.
almost, like, I don't know,
You were 6
3
or
or 4
you
years
were 6
ago.
or 7. It would be 2021, and it was a great trip. I mean, the Ozarks are absolutely beautiful. Apparently, my head was in a different place, or I don't know what was up, but
You
we
broke your brakes too.
it's just one thing after another. It started with us coming through this really tight trail we had to turn around on, and there's a big limb overhanging the road, and I saw it, and I thought I had gone far enough around. The way my tent sets up is the tent's about halfway back in the truck. It's an iCamper Mini, so it's not the full length of the roof, and I thought I had cleared it enough to
And yes, I do remember this.
bypass the limb. I did not, and it nicked the very small corner of my iCamper on the top right
And
corner.
didn't it also put a hole in it?
It did, but what happened after it nicked the camper?
It fell off the truck and the rack that it was on.
Yeah, it didn't fall off. It ripped my entire roof rack off of my truck that included my iCamper Mini, my awning, an entire front runner rack, and it ripped it off the gutter rails on my truck. Made a massive noise. Joe freaked out.
Yeah, I freaked out.
When I look in the rearview mirror, my entire roof rack for my truck is laying in the road.
I swear I'm gonna leave that earbud out.
Yeah, just leave that one out. But so anyway, we ended up getting it back on, but it destroyed my rain gutter channels, put a giant scar and dent in my roof. So we got that up, and we're still going on the trip, and I'll tie all this together in a minute. But so a little bit later in the trip, we're going down a mountain because it is the Ozarks, and my brakes go out, and I'm on the radio talking to my buddies. I'm like, "Hey, I'm losing brakes," so I'm downshifting, and luckily I have low gears in this thing, so I'm able to get down the mountain in first
Yeah,
gear.
this is a 60 Land Cruiser.
Yeah, FJ60, and it's had a lot of modifications, but we get to a flat spot, and we get back there, and my rear brake line had busted, so we were able to
You can say that Dad's a reckless driver.
not normally, but this trip just was one thing after another. But so we end up, luckily I had some buddies with me that are far better mechanics than I am, and we were able to just clamp off the rear brake line and repressurize the system, and rolled the rest of the trip literally with a pair of vice grips, clamping the right back brake line. Everything was fine.
And also, I don't know if this is the same trip, but we went on this trip and to the Ozarks, and it was a cliff we were driving on. It was so steep, and I was freaking out.
Yeah.
And also, then we were on a trail. We didn't know that there was a bypass, but there was a big root, and we drove over it, and it made us go almost straight up and down.
Yeah, we've had some good times. But this whole story keeps going. So I ripped the roof rack off. I lost brake lines. Shortly after that, we were crossing, I think, the Buffalo River, and the Buffalo River was high.
Oh,
And,
yeah, and
and
it made the
I was,
cooler lift.
yeah, that was a different one. The one I'm thinking of is I was following my buddy, and they were driving trucks with a lot taller tires and lifts. So I'm bouncing over the river, and the water was super high. It was basically over the hood. And when you come out of a river like that, it can be pretty steep. And so I'm coming out of the river onto the trail, and I can't really see, like, my front right tire is pretty high. Well, next thing I know, I run the front right fender of my truck into a sawed tree limb that was kind of in and out of the water and just destroyed my front right fender.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And then after that, we ended up on this back trail that was crazy muddy, and we camped back there. It's great. And it rained a little bit, and getting out was just sloppy. Like, I had to lock the lockers, and I was throwing mud, and we were in 4 low, and it was one of those types of mud when you get out of it, like, you're sliding whether you got your wheels spinning or not. and I put the front left part of the
Fright wheel?
yeah, I put the front left part of the truck barely into a tree, so the front left fender got a.
Pretty good dent.
But my point of all that is that's how turkey season feels because everywhere we went, it was absolutely gorgeous, like some incredible sights.
Like every time we go to the glaciers or whatever it's called,
that's the Ozarks.
Ozarks.
Yeah,
We always go to this one little cliff. We have to climb up some rocks.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, isn't that the Buffalo River that we looked at?
Well, the Buffalo River is the big one up there, but there's a couple. But anyway, so in this one trip, we saw some incredible stuff. We had incredible times. We had just some great experiences camping, but also it was absolutely horrible because, like I said, I dumped my camper off the roof. I put the front right of the truck into a tree, front left of the truck got a tree. I lost some brake lines, and I don't know why I was sitting in the woods. And I was like, that trip really feels the way turkey season feels right now. I'm in the woods. Everything's gorgeous. I'm having a great time, but it's pretty brutal. So anyway, that's my turkey update.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? That's back when you were little. I would let you ride in the front seat when we were out in the woods.
I mean, the 60 doesn't have any airbags.
Airbags? No, it does not have airbags.
I know, that's what I said.
That predates airbags for sure. So anyway, yeah, what's new in your world?
Our first baseball game is Monday.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to watch Minecraft movie today.
That's why you look all snazzy in your button up and your khaki shorts.
And all my necklaces and my duck band.
Yeah, Joe even has a little gel in his hair.
Yeah.
He's all done up. He looks real pretty today.
So then I might go to my other grandparents.
So you're going to the movies.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to their house yet.
No, you today's about Nani. You're going to movies with Nani and having lunch with her. You know where you're going?
I can't remember where I'm going to eat lunch.
You gotta speak up, boy. You talk like a little mouse when we're doing
How
this.
is this?
I would take that any day of the week. So yeah, anyway, that's our turkey update. I hope everybody's having way more success than I am and we are. I have not had Joe in the woods because I don't want to put him through this kind of brutality.
And he probably doesn't want a tree limb to hit my head.
Yeah, I mean, I had a buddy that said, you need to make sure you wear a hard hat out there. I felt like I needed a hard hat and a bulletproof vest because walking out, I found that big old widowmaker that was creaking. There's a big tree that snapped in half and barely hanging on. And anyway, I'll post some videos of that. Just, it is what it is. That's the beauty of turkey hunting. That's not turkey killing. So
nope.
I wanted to try something. We're going to let Joe start giving some tips. Maybe every week. Depends on how this goes. I don't know what he's going to say, so it could be good. It could be bad. We're going to find out together, but we'll call this Joe's tip of the week. And after that, it's your turn.
How about Joe's tippers?
No, I don't like that. I don't know what that means. We'll stay with Joe's tip of the week.
All right.
What do you think? Give it to me.
So the tip of the week will be whenever you're hunting and you're aiming at an animal, always take a deep breath when you're aiming, and then once all that breath is out, you shoot.
Yeah, that's when you pull the trigger, huh?
Yeah.
Why do you do that?
To steady your aim.
Yeah, because that's when you're most steady. After you released your breath, you're at a kind of a natural resting point.
And I've probably done that my whole life.
You have not done that your whole life.
Yes, I have.
No, I can assure you haven't. You weren't just born going, oh yeah, that's when you pull the trigger.
No, like once you taught me.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't your whole life. It was after you got taught. There you go. But no, that is actually a really good tip.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one because the big part about that tip though is when you are looking through the scope at an animal, you get what happens to you, especially if it has horns.
Buck fever.
Yeah, buck fever, and you just start shaking. You're like,
You're like a leaf.
Yep, and that's why
a tree in 90-mile-an-hour winds.
Yep, because you're just shaking so much with all that adrenaline. That's why when it happens to you, what's the only thing I really tell you?
Take a deep breath.
Breathe, Joe. Breathe. Hopefully it sticks though. But I mean, I do think, with that being your first tip.
But
yeah,
if you don't have buck fever, you're not hunting.
No, if you lose that, it's time to go play golf.
Uh-huh.
In my opinion, it's time to do something else. But I do think with that being your first tip, that the first thing that comes to your mind is that is kind of proof that.
And also, a few minutes before
Are
the
you going to
podcast.
let me finish speaking? Jeez. I think that's proof of why you're able to shoot deer as far as you are, which for a 9-year-old killing deer at 250 yards, 200 yards, 150 yards.
But not 140.
No, 140 has been your nemesis. But for the most part, it's the reason why you've been able to probably shoot that well. Now, what did you have to say?
A few minutes before the podcast, I had no idea what I was going to do for the tip.
I know, which is perfect because that's the first thing that comes to your mind, which is one of the most important things that people forget in the moment, in my opinion. So yeah, we got that done. Let's see what else. There was another thing I wanted to talk about,
What?
but this is more on the processing food side.
Yeah, we're sitting right next to the table with full of the processing stuff.
Yeah, this isn't really processing because it's something that I feel is picking up more traction, right? But it's not something that everybody is doing. And that is using your deer shanks
Oh, yeah.
and using your turkey legs.
Turkey legs, great broth.
No, we don't use turkey legs for broth.
Well, Mama did. Mama does.
Yeah, but what I mean by that is, I've turned on so many people to cooking with deer shanks and trying to turn people on to saving and utilizing their turkey legs. I just think those are two pieces of the animal that do not get near the amount of love that they should.
Mm-hmm. Deer shanks, slow roast them, and then put them in tacos.
Yeah.
That's what we did last night.
It is. So I'll actually, and you chime in whenever you want, Joe, like how you like it and whatnot. But I'm going to give you all the things I like to do with deer shanks and the things I like to do. Things we like to do with turkey legs. And turkey legs, I'm also going to throw in thighs, maybe wings, but we'll start with deer shanks. First and foremost is you can just put them in and slow cook them in a crock pot like a roast.
Which are delicious. Delicious.
What was that? Delicious. They are 100%. And by shank, I guess if people don't know what I'm talking about, the deer shank is basically what would be the equivalent of your forearm. It's the lower part of the leg below the knee joint. And they normally get cut in half for ground meat.
Which is not deserving of it.
Not at all. Or they just get thrown away. A lot of people just don't mess with them. I do think they're building traction now, though. People are kind of understanding the value of them. But like I said, just take the shanks whole, throw them in a crock pot, and slow cook it. Normally, like to put bone broth in there that we make from other bones of the deer, and just do a traditional roast. The other thing you can do is smoke them. So maybe throw them in the smoker for an hour and a half, and just roll heavy smoke. Pull them off the smoker, then put them back in the crock pot and finish them up in the crock pot. What we did last night was actually birria tacos,
which were delicious.
And you can make your own homemade birria sauce. I've been using, it's actually called a birria bomb. And I want to think
Birria bomb?
Birria bomb, kind of like a bath bomb, but it's a birria bomb. It's all the sauce, all the spices you need for birria, but in a ball. And
I think I remember you buying that.
Yeah, and I want to say those come from easybomb.com. Like the letter E, the letter Z, bomb.com. I want to say I found these on Instagram or something, but they're delicious. And for that, you bored yet? For those, all you do is just take them.
Stretching.
You put your shanks in the crock pot, put your birria bomb in shanks, like shanks in the crock pot.
But you said shakes.
With your birria bomb and 4 cups of water, and just let them sit all day on high and just cook down, and it's just
delicious.
Yeah, delicious. And so for birria, you don't really have to do much. You just kind of pull it off with your fork or however you get it out, and serve it like that. For deer shank tacos, normally what I do is I do the same process: crock pot, broth, let it cook all day on high. Then I'll pull it out, put it on a cutting board, get all the meat off of it, kind of get some of that tendons or whatnot that didn't liquefy all the way, get those out. And then I'll take a knife, chop it up real fine. Kind of almost looks like a pulled pork. And actually, from this point, you could actually add barbecue sauce
which is also delicious.
and make barbecue, like pulled deer shank barbecue, which is great. But if you wanted to do the tacos, once you get it out on your cutting board, it's all shredded.
Pretty much all shank stuff is delicious.
Yeah, it just takes time. That's all it is. But then you have your shredded meat. I then throw it in the pan with your taco seasoning of choice. Normally for me, it's Tacticalories or an MKC Montexican is the
What?
name of their spice. Yeah, they call it Montexican. And put it in there and just kind of cook it. It's already cooked, so you're really just kind of browning it to get some of that crisp. And serve that on tacos. And me and Joe figured out how to make homemade corn tortillas a while back. He helps with those.
Yeah.
It does not always go as planned.
Yeah, sometimes it drives Dad nuts.
For something that has 3 ingredients, it is the hardest thing I've had to learn to do. But so that's deer shanks. I mean, they're incredible. My mom and Joe's mama, she didn't know what to do with them. I finally told her, and she's like, "Oh man, that is unbelievable." And now
I mean, the other day when I went there, she cooked shanks.
Yeah, I mean, there's just all it takes is time. I think Jesse Griffith, who's a great chef out of Austin, said, cuts like that, all they ask of you is time, and that's really all it takes. And it's not even a lot of work. I mean, it's literally just putting it in a crock pot and letting it just cook down. So that's deer shanks. The second one is turkey legs. And really, you can do the entire steps the same way. You have your whole turkey legs and you do them the exact same way. I love to, put an hour or two of heavy smoke on it. Like if your smoker goes to 150 or 160, and just roll smoke. And then you do the exact same process and you can do the burrito or you can do the regular tacos. Those are great.
Burrito taco.
The other one that also is one I think we stole from a meat eater episode is your thighs and wings. Those are pretty tough on a wild bird. And you do the same process. I mean, you put it in a crock pot. Once you get it, you pull it out and shred it. And then from that point, you make wild turkey salad. So like chicken salad, but it's turkey salad.
And also, just so you know, just sitting here kind of makes me tired. That's why I yawn.
I don't know why. You always have so much energy. But yeah, so you take your thighs and your wings, cook them down, and they just cook beautifully, season them up however you like. And you turn around and just dice it up and actually make wild turkey salad. And it's incredible.
Yeah, really good.
Put some grapes, some almonds, or whatever your favorite
and put
recipe
it on
is.
a little turkey salad sandwich.
Yep, that's the way to do it. Little lettuce or something like that. So,
Bon appetit.
Yep. So anyway, that's my plea for anybody who's listening to use their deer shanks and their turkey legs, wings, and thighs. So, what else you got?
Yesterday I played basketball for the whole afternoon.
Oh yeah, did you make any shots?
Yes, I beat you at the trick shot from the deck.
I didn't know it was a competition.
Everything's a competition around me.
True, that is very true. So, I guess coming up for us, I'm going to stay in the turkey woods, and one day maybe I'll tell you I shot at a turkey, or
I shot one,
or Joe shot one. Maybe not. I don't know.
Or I busted one like the one last year.
I'm never going to claim to be a great turkey hunter. The only thing the only thing I am is persistent and patient.
And he likes to get his booty whooped by the weather.
Well, I'm not saying I'm getting my booty whooped because I'm showing up, but
I would say so.
Yeah, okay. That's brutal. I would love to have a turkey down before I head to Florida, but at this rate, I don't know.
You don't want your first turkey to come from Florida?
I would like to have an Eastern down in Mississippi before I drive 10 hours to go try to kill them in Florida. It would make me feel better about the situation. And then for you, baseball's Monday.
Yeah.
Baseball's Thursday.
Yeah.
And then baseball's the following Monday.
Yeah.
Got a lot of games coming up.
Do we have any practices?
That's why we've been practicing. I don't know if we'll be practicing a whole lot once the games start rolling.
That sounds dumb.
And you'll be catching?
Yep.
You'll be playing a little short?
Yep.
And
if you don't know what short is, it's shortstop.
Shortstop. And
just double check.
Probably have to call you up to pitch an inning or two because we have some games back to back pretty quick.
Yeah, last year I pitched a few innings. Well, I pitched a lot, kind of.
Yeah, but so that should be fun. Next podcast we'll find out if you won or lost. And how'd you do? We'll talk a little bit more about that because we do love baseball. So we will definitely talk about that. talk about some turkey stories or the
Yep.
lack thereof. And I do think I'm going to try to process. I need to go get some pork fat. So maybe
Forget that.
we'll talk about processing some actual deer meat that we have in the freezer too.
You're gonna have to drag out this thing from in here to the kitchen.
No, I just take what I want out of there. So
Why don't you just process in here?
because I want it by the sink and want more space and
Well, and put a sink and put more space in here.
no, this is a bedroom. It's more my
Your
room.
guitar room,
Yeah.
and your deer head room, and your turkey room, and your workout room, and fishing room, your gun room, and your gun cases room.
Do you know what they call that everywhere else?
A hoarder?
No, they call it a man cave. That's what you're sitting in right now. And so yeah, I'm not putting a sink in here. But that's
and processing
stuff.
storage.
So I think that's about it.
Oh, and also part knife.
Part knife. So yeah, basically
part knife box
okay.
holder.
You're just gonna tell all my secrets.
Oh, and there's a few vinyl harnesses in the closet.
There's more than a few. There's way too many.
And a few boxes of football cards.
You just gonna
and bullet shells.
Is this like I Spy? Like
and a few hats on the hat rack. And a few drawings that I drew. And
you did not draw that one up there.
I know, but look at the two on the back of the door.
Well, I know. Who you think put them there?
You.
Uh-huh.
And also, and guitar room and speaker room.
Those are called amplifiers. Those aren't speakers.
Whatever. And also shotgun shell room. And looks like you got some medicine over there. And binocular boxes. And I believe 2 katanas. Or 2 knives. 2 swords.
All right. That's enough of talking about the man cave. Hey, you know what the number one rule of the man cave is?
What?
Don't talk about the man cave.
And a treadmill.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, this is where you told me you didn't have one.
And a podcast.
This is where you told me you didn't have one ready, so you better come up with a joke. Now, go. Boom.
I just had a joke.
Find it.
Are you saying joke or joke?
It could be either. Let's go. Gotta give the people what they want. They want a joke.
I know.
Do.
When you edit this out.
I don't edit this. This goes in raw, so you need to.
What's a deer's favorite type of money?
What?
Bucks.
That's actually not bad. Did you just come up with that?
Yes.
Oh, high five. There you go.
That's probably one of my best jokes ever.
It is. What's the deer's favorite type of money? A buck. I'll give you that.
Bucks.
No, just say a buck. It flows better with a buck. Well, very good. All right. I think that's it for us.
Also, one of my favorite things about doing this podcast is that ever since we started, I feel like I'm in Meat Eater Podcast.
Yeah, well, maybe one day if we keep this up, you will be. Or have your own media brand where you do it. Right now, it's just fun. So, tell them what they need to do.
Like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Ding, ding, ding.
That's right. Y'all have a good one.
Catch you on the next one.